today, guys. I am super excited. We've got one of my favourite people in the whole wide world joining us today, which is Alan Dillon. And Alan is going to be sharing some amazing insights with us. So, Alan, great to have you on the call, buddy. How are you doing?
Great to be here. Yeah, fantastic, mate. I'm doing fine.
I don't know about you, but I'm fired up today. The coffee is locked and loaded, so I'm really excited to catch up and to be able to share some that you and Rich have been doing inside your business and your journey and all that sort of stuff. So before we jump into all of that, do you want to give everyone like a quick introduction, let them know who you are, what the business is, and that would be an awesome way to kick this whole thing off.
Yeah, no, definitely. So basically, me and my brother started this business selling promotional merchandise back in 2005 now. It all started off the back of me working for someone else. I worked for them for about 3 months. They're paying me peanuts. I was doing a load of work. I thought, I could do this. I could do this myself. Didn't realize really what was involved in the whole thing, but yeah. I was young, so I thought, I'll give it a go. Rich joined me after about 3 months, just quit his job. He didn't really say, he said, I've quit my job, and we started working together. That's how it began, and yeah, we've just gone from there, really. Started as like an incubation space up Leeds University, and we've grown the business from there, really, for the last sort of 15 years, where we've got thousands of different clients on board, and just trying to take it to the next level now, where it's sort of beyond me and Rich, and we can get some sort of tangible business out of this, so we can sell or do something in the future, rather than it's all up here.
Yeah. Trying to systemize and automate and do all those good things and put the things in place. What I want to touch on there, Alan, which is brilliant, because we have people that we talk to here, let's call it like that have got other family members involved in the business, whether it's like a husband or a wife, and you and Rich obviously sort of like two brothers there. How do you guys balance that in terms of being, I know what I'm like with my brother, I would literally kill him within like 30 seconds of working together. How do you guys manage that relationship? How do you make that work? Because you guys get on really well, don't you?
Yeah, we get on really well, but the funny thing is, when we used to be in our office up in Leeds for the first 6 years, we used to have some sort of argument. Obviously, when we were in the office together, we found we had more arguments, but we didn't have nothing to compare it against until I moved back to Devon. And since we work separately, we actually work a lot better, where we're not in the same office. We've got our own space. And yeah, it works in the way that I sort of manage the business. I sort of run it. I still deal with inquiries, but Rich takes over basically all the inquiries. So we've got like segmented roles, really, which have to be done. He's doing all the sort of the busy chasing down customers, sales, and I'm sort of trying to grow the business. So yeah, we like brothers and siblings. Yeah, we argue, but less so since we moved back here, and now we're too busy to argue now,
which is a good thing. And I mean, in terms of that, Alan, I mean, we've like it's amazing with like the technology that's going at the moment. You guys can basically run this business as a team, but running it from like completely separate locations. How do you make that work out? How simple is that? And it sounds like it's easier than working from the same place, which is really cool. So talk us through how the logistics and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, obviously, we're a completely sort of internet-based company. So somebody will make an inquiry on our website, it gets fired through to both of us, and then Rich will sort of deal with it, or allocate the job to one of our employees to do. So that's how we sort of keep on top of that. And it's various sort of systems we've got in place now, sort of automations, and to sort of keep that going. And we're going to have something soon where we've got all of the inquiries coming through to some sort of central desk where we can sort of dish them out, which makes it a bit easier, because we don't want to be, whilst we've got one employee is fine to be dishing them out, it will get more complicated when we have 4 or 5, and that will become a full-time job in itself, just dishing out inquiries all the time. So it's been quite easy, because like I say, we're not retail faced, like we're actually got a shop or anything like that. We're just on the internet. Rich does his thing on the inquiries. I do sort of more running of the AdWords campaigns, just looking at the general overview of the business. But yeah, I can be involved, inquiries just as much as him when you get bogged down with it, and it's just sort of dishing them out. We've got, we just get on with it, trying to get as many sales in as we can, really.
And you guys are awesome on the sales front as well, aren't you? Just animals in terms of like the process that you've got to follow people through. I want to talk, if you don't mind, Alan, because I know you guys absolutely nail it with like Google AdWords. It's incredible how it doesn't necessarily matter whether it's like Google AdWords or newspapers or whatever it might be. Some people sit there and think, yeah, I've tried that. and it didn't work. And in terms for you guys, like the AdWords side of things has been absolutely amazing. And
Yeah.
I guess the question I've got is, if people are watching this, I know you're really keen on your numbers. Like, what are the metrics that you sort of look at to make sure that this thing's on track? And how have you scaled it? And how have you made sure that actually the money that you're investing in the AdWords is basically sort of like generating money on the back end, I suppose? What's been your...
Yeah, definitely. So what I look at, the main number I look at amongst the others is the cost per conversion, which we're down to, I think, we're teetering about £7-8 £8 a conversion. And
amazing.
Yeah, to think that back in the 10 years ago, and the thing is, it can't, like people say, it can be expensive if you don't know what you're doing. At one point, we were paying £30 a conversion. So that's considerably less when we're down to these sort of numbers. But it's just, you've got to put money in the first place to see which sort of keywords are working, which ones aren't, and obviously you can feel like you're spending a lot of money then, but that actually goes forward to allow you to put a lot of negative keywords in, cut a lot of the rubbish out, and then just sort of move forwards. And like I say, we're at about, I think about, like say, £7-8 a conversion. Obviously it changes every month, but we're doing over 50 inquiries a day now.
That's amazing.
Compared to sort of, that's nearly 1,000 a month. Compared to the old days, we might have been doing about probably no more than about 200.
Wow.
We're paying the same. We're paying 30 grand. So we're paying £6,000 then, and we're still paying £6,000 now. So it's come down massively, but it's just about looking after things. We do have a company that we outsource sort of our ad management to, but it's also keeping on top of them. I know how it works myself. I just don't have time to be looking at it. They come back to me on a daily basis and say, "Oh, I've got a load of negative keywords. Do you want to exclude them?" And it just saves in the campaign. I just sort of exclude them. It's just doing that really. It's just, you've got to put money in at the beginning. You've got to invest it. You might feel like you're wasting it, but if you put it in properly and analyze your data, you can get to a good point like we're at. And I'm hoping to get down to sort of £5 a conversion. That'd be the dream, and paying no more overall, really.
Well, that's the big fucking lesson there, isn't it? In terms of being like, actually, if you were spending the same £6,000, which £6,000, let's say, however long ago, was generating 200 inquiries, that same £6,000 is now generating like 1,000 inquiries. You're like, well, fuck, this is awesome. It's like free leads, isn't it? It's really, really cool.
100%. We weren't making as much money then, because obviously it'd be like say £30 a conversion. You might get 200 inquiries a month. You've got to close a lot more of those. You've got to go out at a much higher price because you're getting less inquiries. Obviously, when you get more inquiries, you can go out at a cheaper price because you're going to get more orders. It's a bit weird, but that's sort of how it sort of pans out, really.
And sort of like turning on from that, in terms of like the journey, not really, I guess, with the AdWords stuff, because you guys have been in business a while here. I mean, what's been like the biggest stumbling block that you guys have had over sort of like the last 10, 15 years? What's been the biggest hurdle that you think you guys have had to overcome? And talk us through that, because I'm sure there's people watching and listening to this that have sat there at a point that you've been at before and just been like, fuck, like what's the answer? How do I pull myself out of this?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, with being a small business like me and Rich, it's just two people at the end of the day, and your most precious commodity is time. And we didn't have enough of it. We'd be working sort of before work, during work, evenings, weekends, and probably when you get down to your hourly rate, you're not making no more than anybody else who's working for someone else. So we just decided that we're just gonna, focus on actually being, obviously when we joined the fellowship with you guys, is actually using our time more wisely. And since we've been doing that, and we've automated so many things, and we've got processes in place, we'll be able to get back time to reinvest it and actually start making more money. But I think that was our biggest struggle for the first, ever since probably even up to the last few years. So for the last sort of 12 years, it's time. Because we're working our nuts off. But it's just like, you're taking your time away from your family, you're taking your time away from your friends. Where do you draw the line? You can keep on doing it, and it's okay. It's a decent amount of money, but end of the day, the business needs to operate without us. It needs to be something that we can sell, something that we can do whatever we want at the end of the day. At the end of the day, heaven forbid, but one of us could drop dead. We need the business to carry on. It needs to be worth something for whoever's left. Our families, and that's how we see it now. And that's why we've got, obviously with the fellowship, we've got a lot of processes in place and automations that make it sort of take it from us and put it back in control, say, of the company. And somebody else comes along, we just want to pick it up and go.
Yeah.
They won't be able to, but no, they will pick it up and go, yeah, we'll be able to just carry on as well as we can, really.
Well, it's that time's that biggest thing, isn't it? I think, and I don't know if it's a male thing or whatever, but we call it like the providing trap, in terms of being like, fuck, I feel like I've got to put more time in to be able to provide more. But the thing is actually what people actually want, like the loved ones around you, they want that time, don't they? So it's trying to re-engineer things and put things in the right place. And I love, you mentioned automation. We'll come on to that in a second. What I love about that is not only does it buy back time, but it buys you back that sort of like mental clarity and confidence as well, doesn't it? In terms of being like, fuck, this shit is working and it's happening. Yeah. And I can focus on what needs to happen because I know the machines are taking over. So in terms, I guess with that being said, Alan, in terms of like automations and that sort of thing, what's been the biggest impact? What sort of automations have you put in place, and what have you seen come off the back of that?
Yeah, no, definitely. So automation-wise, we put in place quite a few. Just trying to look at the sort of board of what we're doing. Just sort of, I'd say a good automation would be sort of like even like review automation, just little ones, the tiny ones. It's just like when you dispatch an order, automate little things so they get review links automatically sent over, things that we were sending manually before and having to put it into a system. In the day, and it just means we don't have to be bothered with doing that. The client gets a follow-up, they get, and they can put a review on and stuff like that. So just those little tweaks, really, the stuff we were doing before that we're trying to sort of process and a bit better. And obviously we've got a product sort of evergreen cycles, really, of offers that we're going to get out to our clients now that we've got in place. It just means that every week when I collect up all the email addresses, I can send them out and get them started on this automation where they're going to receive, one product this week, in a couple of weeks, a different product. It just means it starts them on the journey. And once you set up that automation, you don't need to look back at it again. It's sort of like they're in there, they're going to roll on as far as many automations as you've done, whether it's a year's worth. And you know that if a client comes on board today or in 6 months' time, they're going to get that same sort of onboarding process. Everybody gets the same process, which if you haven't got automation in place, people get busy and you get sort of like, oh, I forgot to do that. And you're not having the consistency then, are you, for the customers? It's just like one customer gets this service, another one gets this one. So you need to provide that top level, which can be done by making things automated and just sort of letting it it will just work for itself. You've got to put the time in to write the automation, the time in to look at what you're going to offer, but it just takes care of itself. At the end of the day, then obviously you're going to have a lot more customers coming back to you, and they're going to be ordering more, or you might email them a product offer and they thought, oh, I didn't know you did that. Because they think, oh, you just sell pencils, you just sell branded pens. They don't realize, and then they come back to you and you've got another order. They might tell somebody else. It's just the sort of, it just sort of sprinkles outwards, if you start it, and it just sort of, it can go to all sort of avenues, really.
And isn't that like the worst fucking thing when you have something from a customer that's been giving you money and they go, oh, I didn't know that you guys did that. And you're like, fuck, don't tell me you've been giving someone else money for this stuff that we could have done for you the whole time that we've had this relationship.
Happened all the time. I didn't know you did that. And it's the same even from the supplier perspective for us. I didn't know you did that. How did I know you? How did I know you're doing that? And they're just like, so these little regular tidbits of information, if you can get it across them, I think that's really just sort of educates them and also puts it into the mind of sort of like, this is a brand, this is Proboss. I've received 6 emails from them now. They might not have acted on the first 6, 12, whatever, but they're there. And then when it pops in, oh, I need this, who are they going to think of? They're going to think of us, hopefully, and then come over and get us that extra sale. And really, it doesn't cost us any money to do it. The only time really cost is setting up the cycle. We've already paid to acquire the customer, We paid the £6 or £7. I don't want to have to pay the £6 or £7 every time I want to get an inquiry from them. I just want to pay it once, get them on board, get them as a lifetime customer, and then it literally just like, oh, you get this, it doesn't cost money to send emails out, so.
Oh, it's fucking awesome, man. It's really cool. Anytime you can automate any process like that, it gets me excited, Alan. And I guess, I guess on the back of that as well, and like to maximise that Google AdWords spend that you're doing. I know you guys have been working really, really hard on sort of like systemizing the sales process as well, because I know you've now got someone that's picking up the phones.
Sure.
So talk me through what you guys have done from that sales process, and what sort of impact that's had in terms of, again, let's call it like consistency when someone comes through, to making sure that they're getting the same experience. Like what's been your thought process there, Alan? What sort of impact has that had?
How are you saying, sorry, Charlie, with regards to that? Are you talking about from the employee? Are you talking from Mike's point of view, our employee, or are you talking more from the customer?
More from the customer's point of view. So you guys are generating the leads online, and now you've got your Trello board, which goes, right, cool, this is how we're going to follow them up, and we're going to follow them here, we're going to follow them up here, which I know isn't automated, but there's still that system and that process there, isn't it, to make sure that $6,000 that you're spending on the ads, on those 1,000 leads, you're maximizing every single chance to make sure that trying to stop people slipping through the cracks, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what we've got on board, like I say, we've got a Trello board in place now where our employee Mike, he gets all of his inquiries on there, and it's segmented that basically he's got certain processes in place where if he gets an inquiry, he'll email them back straight away. He'll ask for the certain information he needs. If he doesn't get that email back, we've got it set up for automation that, will send out the same email again a day later. Because people aren't always able to respond, when you want them to. So we'll send it out, and we'll send it out again, because obviously they've inquired in the first place, and it just sort of, obviously those sort of automations make it easier for someone to come back to you. So that's what Mike's doing, and then we've got the whole sort of order process from that point onwards automated from there. So we raise an order in the system, it goes through our Trello board. There's certain bits on there we can see if it hasn't moved to the next step, it will automate the next step. So remind the customer, you need to approve your artwork, you need to do this to move your order to the next place. We didn't really have that in place before, where really it would just be sort of very manual.
Yeah.
We'd have to look, pieces of paper, we'd have to go through there, look, this person needs checking up on. But it's just like how you can't do, when it gets to sort of 100 orders a month, you can't do that very well anymore. If you've got a system where each inquiry is a card, it's got to move through the whole board to get from one place to another. It needs to get from the beginning, it needs to get from the end, and that's the whole process. If it doesn't get to end, it can move to a dead folder. But the whole point is, every inquiry moves in the same fashion. Everybody's getting the same service at the end of the day.
It's really, really important, isn't it? And I think as you're growing a business, like you say, there's a certain point where you can do that stuff manually. But when you're talking about like that consistency and that control, and basically sort of like taking back that control and time, without the systems there, even when you are doing it manually, I don't know what it was like for you, Alan, but it used to be for me. It was without those things in place. Those are when you sort of like you sat on the couch in the evening with the other half, and you're like, fuck. I forgot to follow up that quote, or I forgot to chase that inquiry, or I forgot to do this. And that's where your head is just here, there, and everywhere, because all of a sudden you're trying to do it, not just do it all manually, but it's all sitting up here. And as soon as you can put that in a process, you'd be like, right, cool, this is now what I need to do, and this is exactly where that thing, it just allows you to just go like, man, I've got a little bit of mental clarity, and I can sort of enjoy the time watching Netflix or whatever the fuck it might be in the evening with the family or with the kids. You're sort of present, aren't you?
Yeah, no, definitely. You don't want to be, at the end of the day, you don't want to be chasing up anybody. The system needs to chase them up for you. It's absolutely pointless. Like I say, the busier you get, the less chasing you do.
Yeah.
If you've got like a machine or automation which does every single quote, it follows up, every single inquiry, lead, everything is automated, end of the day, you're going to get more business. You're going to get a higher conversion rate. You're going to be spending less time doing it, less time worrying about it, thinking, like, say, shit, I didn't follow up this massive inquiry. I'm on SaaS now. Can I even follow it up? I'm sure it's probably gone somewhere else, because the humans are fallible. End of the day, automation to most intended purposes isn't. And once you get it into there, it will just do the work for you at the end of the day.
And speaking about humans there, Alan, we were laughing and joking before, and I know you and Rich have got the business to a point now that you're starting to use the systems. You got sort of like a new salesperson on board. You're looking to bring a couple of people on and using the systems to help sort of like manage those. I mean, at what point did you and Rich get there and be like, right, cool, we now need to put the things in place so that we can bring other people on board in the business, and we need to take this, take it from just you guys and expand the team, but do it in a way where we're not losing control and freedom. What was the catalyst for you to bring that person on?
Basically, the catalyst was we're just too busy. We're at the sort of maximum threshold of the amount of inquiries we could do. We're doing, say, it might have been about 40 or so. It might have been a bit less than that a day, and it was just like we're using all of our time up already. How, yeah, we could probably squeeze in a few more inquiries here,
Yeah.
but the service is going to get shitter, and we need to be keeping the service consistent. So we thought, end of the day, we want more inquiries. We want to. That's obviously when we come and spoke to you guys, and we had a 90-day meeting and sort of thrashed out what we were going to put in place with Mike to get that sort of whole onboarding process in a consistent manner that we can apply to every employee. And that's where we ended up creating, obviously, with you guys, the knowledge database, which has been invaluable, really, because now I'm sort of creating videos on how to do something or show Mike something. I don't have to, I just go, here's a video, it's here, have a look at it. Ask me, it's like, otherwise you're regurgitating the same thing over and over again, and you're getting fed up. They're probably getting fed up of asking. They're thinking, oh, I can't ask. But end of the day, if you put the power in their hands, go, here's a video. What many times do you want? This is how you do a quote. This is how you do a follow-up. This is how you set up an automation. It just makes it easier. And what we've done, which has been really good, is we've had Mike creating videos for us. We're like,
fantastic.
Because it's sort of the beginning of the sort of knowledge database. So like, oh, this isn't in there. And Mike said, so I find, Mike, it's not in there. Why don't you create a video to show us how you're going to do that? And then it sits there. The next employee should have, a multitude of videos where they can look at and go, yeah, this is how we do this process. So that's how we sort of, obviously we needed to get somebody on board because we're too busy. But then it's about getting the right processes in place to sort of scale it up. And then obviously if we can do that with Mike and we can get the perfect process in place, we want to replicate it within 2 or 3 months and get somebody else on board, improve on what we've done, but we've got a system in place, and at the end of the day, it allowed me to go off on paternity leave, and I could relax a lot more knowing that there's this database in place where Mike can have a look at things, and if he's got any problems, he can look at that. He doesn't have to call me up every 5 minutes and remind me how to do that, because that's end of the day, that's what people do. If you're showing somebody something, it's probably you don't have to show them more than once. But if you've got some system in place where they can sort of educate themselves, I suppose, that's going to be better for them. And it's going to be better for the whole company, really.
Well, that's it. You want to bring people on board to scale this thing, but again, the whole philosophy around everything, like the whole one man empire thing, it doesn't mean that you're just like a one man band. It's like, how do we put this thing so you can run this thing as one man with people behind you, and you don't want those people then to be constantly hammering you, pestering you, and all that sort of stuff. In fact, Alan, one of the funniest, I think, Crusader calls that we've ever done, and I hope you don't mind sharing this story, Alan, because
which one's going to
be? your first person that you bought, and you said, again, it's about having the right systems, it's about finding the right people, isn't it? And we were on the group call with the other guys. Do you want to share the story, Alan, in terms of what happened with the person you bought on board within like 24 hours? And I still share this. It's brilliant. I'll let you go with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, basically we were looking for people. We went on Indeed. We put a lot of we put the job advert out, and the problem was, which I realized later, I didn't really have much of a system. I looked through the CVs, 150, 250, I can't remember how many it was, and I narrowed it down to a certain amount of people. But yeah, basically I should have had some competency tests in there, maths, English, in there, which I realized later on, just to filter out those people. So basically we had this lady start working for us, and it was within a day or so, and she's doing sort of quotes, which is, it's a maths intensive, but it's very basic. It's sort of like GCSE level. I mean, end of the day, it's just multiplication, subtraction, stuff like that, really. But I went over to, I didn't go over to her desk. She said to me, she was looking at something. She was a bit puzzled. She asked me to come over, and then she was looking at some numbers there, and she couldn't figure something out. And she was looking at the screen there, and she was like, I don't know what's wrong with this number. And straight away, I spot in there's 2 decimal places. and so she can't get it to work in this calculation because our automation, stuff like that, it calculates prices for you automatically based on the number you put in. But obviously, no automation is going to calculate anything if you've got 2 decimal places there. I just had this sinking feeling that I hadn't done my job properly. And then it's sort of, who I'd selected and she didn't last very long because she wasn't really up for the job, and she didn't really understand sort of basic maths, and even rounding, she couldn't round correctly to 2 decimal places, and that was sort of like light bulb moment where I thought, obviously I'm gonna get rid of her, but next time I'm going to improve, and I'm going to have these competency tests in there. And we had maths ones, English ones. I got about 10 people to do that round, and then we've ended up with a person who's really good at that, really good at maths, really good at English, and I don't have to worry about that. That they might not be up to scratch. And really, you need to do that before you get somebody on board. And 100%. Don't make the same mistakes twice. Try not to.
Well, I think we'll go down in history, Alan, as my favourite Crusader call that we've ever done. I don't think anyone else can believe that there was 2 decimal places in the number. It still makes me smile.
Never seen it. Whatever you think is, what I realise, whatever you think is in your own head, that's how you expect other people to be.
Yeah.
But often is the case. There's nothing like that, and they've got their own things that they're doing this way or that way. So sometimes it's just you need to think a bit outside the box. Really, obviously, I don't know outside of the box thinking would have got me to think that.
Well, there's a big lesson there, isn't it? Not only in terms of like employees, but let's call it in terms of like end Joe public customer, consumer, people that might be buying your stuff. That you make the assumption, and when I say you, like we collectively as business owners make the assumption that people are viewing, whether it's websites, they're coming to a sales conversation with, let's say, a level of understanding that's up here. Whereas the reality is 9 times out of 10, you're up here, but everyone else is sort of like so far down in terms of their understanding what's going on that sometimes you need to go back to basics and really, really explain this stuff. Like, just want to make sure you understand like this stuff in terms of how we operate and how we do this stuff.
In the nicest sort of way possible. The way I've always thought of it, and the way I'm teaching our employees, that treat customers as idiots, treat suppliers as idiots, in the nice way that basically they don't have the sort of they might not understand what you understand at the end of the day. And that's all it comes down to. It's just like you need to educate them. You need to be thinking they could be thinking this, and you often get questions about, they say explain this, and it's so obvious to us, but that's the whole point. It needs to be explained. You need to show them from the ground up how something works. Because the more knowledge and confidence you give them, the more likely it is you're going to get that sale, you're going to get that lifetime customer, because they think that adding, you're giving them value at the end of the day.
It's what it's about, isn't it? And it's again, you can't be afraid sometimes to dumb stuff down to make that work, which is really cool. And what I want to touch on there, Andy, as I said, and that story came up on the Crusader call, and out of probably the 30 members that we have locked in at this program at any one time, you're one of the people that's like religiously on those on the Crusader calls. And when we were sharing that, you're asking some feedback around. I mean, what I tend to find here is I don't think until people step into this sort of environment and realise what it's like to have, let's call it like a support network of other men that are running around the business, how much impact. Sometimes just being able to ask questions to get sort of like insider knowledge and that sort of stuff. I mean, what sort of impact is having other like-minded individuals around you that you can reach on, that you can lean on? What sort of impact has that had on you guys over sort of like the last 12, 18 months or so?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely unbelievable, because obviously the Crusader calls, like you say, we're in with other people, chatting with them, we're part of the fellowship, and because what happens is you get sort of focused on your own trail of thought, and even my brother, we're in the same business together, we could be thinking in the same way, so it's a sort of narrow-minded view of how to view things, and the Crusader call has really saved me so many times. Saved me so many times of going through this, what the hell am I going to do? And you just sort of voice your opinions to someone else, and you know what? Somebody else has been through that. Yeah. Somebody else has done that, and they can tell you, do this or go about it this way, or you speak to 6, 7 people, they've all got different opinions, but you can take the bits that you want to do and implement. Definitely, there's been multiple occasions where I've had questions, and it just sort of enables you to sort of go through the process without having to go through the shit of really finding out all the details. Yeah. Oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. It's just like get the experiences of other people. Find out what they are and just focus on those. I suppose it's like reading a book or anything, isn't it? It's about getting knowledge, because all the knowledge isn't there. It's out there somewhere, but you want sort of real life examples where people happen to them. They've implemented something which has worked for them, and you can use that for yourself at the end of the day.
Well, it's cool, isn't it, that to have that sometimes. As I said, I don't think people realise sometimes the power of that association until you sort of like step into an environment like this or that sort of group environment. And it's kind of funny as well. We were on the call yesterday, and I know you weren't with us yesterday, Alan, and Neil asked a question around something to do with the business, and everyone basically shot the thing down. And I think Neil knew it was a bad idea coming onto the call. but he was hoping, he was like, right, out of the 6 people, if I just get one person that tells me this is all right, basically, then I can justify that I don't have to do it. He knew there was more work that was needed, but just wanted to give him an excuse to do it. And I think sometimes, I don't know what it's like for you, but if you've got other people involved in the business, they won't necessarily always give you the honest answer. They give you the answer that they think you want to hear. When Neil jumped on that thing yesterday, everyone was like, that's a fucking stupid idea, Neil. You've got to do this properly. I know this is the really thing, but you sometimes let yourself off the hook, don't you, in terms of to make your life easier, even if it isn't the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. The thing is, it's you often, people, myself, everybody get carried away in your own trail of thought. You think, fuck, this is a great idea. You can convince yourself of anything. And it's like, that's what's so good about the group. It's like Neil was obviously shot down, but there's reason everybody's thinking that. And it should make him think, how do I need to adapt this idea? How do I need to improve it? Or do I need to bin it? Because I've come up with loads of ideas which I thought are brilliant at the time. It's just like, after doing it for 6 months, a little bit here and there, you just think it's after a while, just sacked them off and thought, you know what, that was a shit idea. Maybe part of the fellowship, and maybe it's like, if you can present something and go, and everybody's just honest and says, you know, I'm in a similar boat, but you know what, that's a load of rubbish, or that's really good. It can help you sort of fine tune your offering for the better. Because like say, if you've got people around you, family members or your business partners or family members and stuff like that, everybody can sort of be very agreeable, think, yeah, that's great, whatever. But you need sometimes a dose of reality, and people just, that's what's good about the fellowship. People just tell you as it is at the end of the day. They won't be like, yeah, that's brilliant. They say, ideal, shit.
That is the worst idea that I've ever heard.
Yeah. That's what I mean, because at the end of the day, you're saving yourself time at the end of the day. It comes back to the time management, because why waste your time doing something which isn't going to be profitable or productive? Focus it on something else at the end of the day. There's no point doing it for months and then find that shit, I've wasted all that time. I could have been doing something else.
It's very. You say focus, Aaron. I know there was a message that you sent over the other day where you'd had like a really shitty day, and I think you quoted Tony Robbins, and you were something like, I always try and find how to turn like my worst day into my best day. And you're like a super motivated guy. I mean, how do you, when it comes to like, I know you got the new baby, you got like other kids already, and you got like the wife. How do you motivate yourself, Alan? Like, what's your mind process in the morning in terms of like, hey, I need to get all this shit done at work. I still need to be a good husband and a good father when I get back. How do you sort of like keep yourself going with all the other stuff that's going on as well?
Yeah, end of the day, we've had plenty of shit days, loads of stuff happening with websites and all kinds of stuff. And end of the day, I just see it as there's no situation that you can't make worse. you might think there isn't, it couldn't get any worse, but it could. Yeah. Or you can put yourself into the perspective of somebody else, you know, oh, they've got a lot tougher time than me. So you just got to get your shit together, focus on that. Basically, out of every sort of adversity, you can pull something out, and you can make something good come out of it. You know, like when whatever the stock market crashes, people who are into stocks and all of that, you know, that's an opportunity to buy.
Yeah.
You know, stocks, there's always something. People say, oh no, all stocks are going down, I can't buy it. You know, it's not a good time. But there's always somebody creating an opportunity out of something where somebody's just binned it off and thought, I can't do anything there. So I just try and keep that in mind, keep positive, and you know, when I'm at work, I want to be working, pushing forwards. But like say, when I'm at home, I need to be spending time with the family and focus on that really. And just sort of like before, I'd be working a lot more sort of evenings and stuff. And or if you're working, you've got your laptop in front of you, it's easy to be distracted. You might think you're paying attention. You might think you're paying attention to your wife, your kids, but you know what? They'll ask you something the next day and I probably wouldn't remember it.
Yeah, we've all been there.
On the laptop, you know, or it's not fully focused where it should be. So focus all your energy where it should be. Use that time to sort of regenerate and then sort of carry on at the end of the day and just stay positive, definitely. And that's what I like about the fellowship as well. There's everybody there's positive, you know, everybody's there wants to do better. There's nobody there who just wants to sort of amble along and just, you know, think, you know, time passes by, because the fellowship isn't for them. It's for people who want to push themselves forwards and really sort of develop and be in a much better place in 3 months, 6 months, a year, and you know, in a few years, whatever, really change their lives.
That's incredible how positive energy like that rubs off, isn't it? It's really, really cool. And in terms of you saying sort of like pushing things forward, Alan, I mean, what does sort of like the next 12 months, the next 3 years, what does that look like for you guys? What do you envisage happening for yourself, and what are you super excited about that's coming up on your guys?
Yeah, no, definitely. So obviously we've got Mike now as our first employee. My plan is literally just over the next couple of months, get him as good as possible and then replicate all of the processes I've got in place with him, which you developed through the fellowship, all automations, all the sort of knowledge bases, and get somebody else on board. I'd like to ideally have 3 people on board by the end of the year. We're getting 50 or so inquiries a day now. I want to soon be up to 100 inquiries a day. And just really sort of push forwards in a way we're sort of managing a business rather than, like say, it's just 2 people working like headless chickens all the time. It's okay, but you know what? I couldn't sustain this life for another 20 years doing that. But I want to sort of pull back and have the whole business to run by itself really at the end of the day. That me and Rich can be away, we could be away for a month, and everything is running like clockwork at the end of the day. So we're excited about sort of getting more people on board and really sort of growing and ramping up the business, and then possibly going to sort of overseas markets as I've got sort of more time to sort of look at the business. And now I've got more time at the end of the day to see the general overview, which I've not really had for prior to joining the fellowship. I've not really had, because you get bogged down with the sort of all of the mundane tasks of the day, sort of like you might be doing inquiries, you might have to do admin, and you sort of get lost in that. And years can pass when you're lost in that. I want to do this, but it never gets done. And now I'm finding I've got more time to sort of just generally look at the overall strategy of the business. And with employees, and I want them to be doing sort of the sales. Eventually I don't want to be involved in sales at all. That's the long-term game really.
It sounds really exciting now. And again, it's building these things with proper scale in mind, which isn't necessarily around. I mean, you can get scale just by fucking working yourself into the ground. And actually, we want to scale this shit with the right systems, with the right assets, with the right things in place. So actually, like you said at the very start, you've got choices in terms of how you and Rich work. You've got choices in terms of like moving the business on. It's really, really, really exciting. And I think your guys' story is amazing. And I'm sure there's people that are watching this that got a load out of this. So I just want to say, Alan, huge thank you for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. If anyone's out there watching this and didn't realise you could get to, or didn't realise that actually numbers could only have 1 decimal point, that's another big lesson.
Alan, education, it was worth it just for that.
Really, really appreciate your time, my friend. And I'm super, super excited to see what the next 12 months hold from you. And great speaking. Cheers, Alan.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, buddy.